Howdy crypto friends. So the bears are back in full control. While we saw the bulls initially buying the dips, they certainly could not hold out forever. And we have very clear follow through from the daily inside bar bear break. We did see the bulls buy the dip, but straight back down again, increasing significant bear volume. And our new daily lower high has been set. So very clear resistance now is up at 6,580. And we technically still have the daily higher lows. And you might be saying, how is that possible? Well, on this bounce, we hit the low. We saw the initial bounce. We formed a little higher low at 61.77. We saw continuation, and we never established a clear daily higher low from that point. So it is still 61.77, but obviously that's not giving the bulls much confidence at this point. This bear dump today increases those odds, which already favored the bears for a weekly bear break. It increases those odds even more significantly in their favor, as we're only looking down at 61.77, 61.16, 6,000, 5,900, 5,777. Those are the levels of support we're looking at. And as far as resistances, we have leaps and bounds to get to breaking resistance levels, whereas every support that I just talked about is in about a $400 range or so. And in terms of resistances, our first resistance level is going to be $340 away, and our second resistance level is $1,200 away. So again, no matter which way you slice it, the bears are comfortable. They have the upper hand. We're looking for an oversold bounce attempt right now. The 4-hour RSI did drop down to oversold, a little bit of a lower wick. The hourly time frame shows us a weak bounce attempt, and then a drop to lower lows without a whole lot of follow through. But we didn't even get anywhere near the hourly exponential resistance on the initial bounce attempt. Anything under 63.14 is just an hourly lower high. For the bounce to have any kind of follow through, we have to change the hourly trend as step number one, and we're not close to doing that at this point. So again, personally, I'm not even interested in flipping these oversold bounces. If I were, I would be using very small positions, because I'm not going to use large positions as a bull unless we get a bull break on the weekly time frame, and that does not look likely. Bears at this point are looking for potential re-entries on 4-hour oversold bounces, so we'll watch the exponential resistance on the 4-hour time frame on any bounce. More aggressive bears are going to look for a lower high compared to 63.14, and just patiently waiting for tightening ranges. When can we break this equilibrium on the weekly time frame? We have an inside bar. Breaking 61.77 will be the first red flag for the bulls and the first green flag for the bears. And then we would take it from there with all those other support levels I just talked about. When could we break? We could break this week, absolutely. We could break we might not break in the next 2-3 weeks. It all depends on if the bulls are able to defend these couple support levels above 6,000. And if they are not, again, a break is entirely possible later this week. So have to be keeping an eye out for it. And bears are certainly poised and ready to try and see another leg down on this weekly chart. If we get a break of 5,777, I'm looking at 5,511 as the next support that we would be looking for the bulls to attempt to hold. And obviously, it would be a clear continuation move for the bears. Ethereum, daily lower high is also set now very clearly. We broke a double bottom of support down at, we'll look at that actually. Actually, you know what? It was Bitcoin that broke the double bottom. Just the clear bear signal here. Look at this double low. Bitcoin 64.11. We pointed this out in the video yesterday, I believe. 64.11, 64.13. Double bottom. Look at the volume. When that broke, that's when the bear volume poured in. That's stop losses triggering. That's bears pouring on the momentum. And it was a clear double low breaking that led to that volume spike and that drop off the cliff. So Ethereum, we had a 4-hour pattern that was holding with the high, low, lower high, higher low attempt. The first bear break was 212. The second bear break was 208. And we dropped very significantly. Got something in my eye. Very significantly down below 208. So if you make a bear entry on the break at 208, next thing you know, you are up a significant amount. So the bears followed through on that move. On any bounce attempt on the 4-hour time frame, we will look for a lower high. As far as exponential resistances, the hourly time frame is nowhere near them. The 4-hour time frame is nowhere near them as well. So even if we do get a little bit of a bounce, still exponential resistances to be watching. And again, it was the daily exponential resistances that rejected the price. So they continue to be a good guide for us on the daily and pretty much every time frame. So Ethereum trying to bounce, 15-minute time frame, Still a weak bounce attempt. There's not a lot of confidence here, and it's a potential 15-minute bear flag where we currently stand. So not a lot of hope. Have to get over exponential resistance. Look at the 15-minute exponential resistance, rejecting the last bounce attempt, leading to another leg down, and here we are approaching that resistance level again. Look at the shorts here on ETH. It's a similar move we saw to Bitcoin. Remember when those Bitcoin shorts had a huge amount open up in a short amount of time, and then shortly after, ended up being a couple days after, but we saw the all-out dump on Bitcoin? Well, here we have Ethereum opening up from 222,000 shorts to 268. 46,000 shorts opened in 2 hours this morning at 5 a.m. And we look back at the price back then, and that was right here on this bounce attempt. And that was up. These shorts opened between essentially 212 and 221. And here we are now, over 10% below those levels. You do the math. What's 41,000 times 218, let's call it, and then where we stand now and how much profit that those positions are currently in? It's a significant amount. So a big spike in shorts opening preceded the dump for the second time now on a different coin. It is worth watching those shorts charts to get those clues, which have followed through twice now. Let's look at ETH BTC because it had a bear break as well. Ethereum, much weaker on this dump. Look at the ETH BTC dump. The daily chart set just another lower high. Just like the ETH USD chart, 3467 is the new lower high. Bulls have to hold 269 to try and form a higher low compared to that level to try and change this daily trend in order to get any kind of follow through on that Ethereum strength comparative to Bitcoin. Litecoin, daily time frame also rejecting from exponential resistance. Our lower high is set at 58.90. Bulls have to hold 47.19. Don't forget, we have no weekly supports below our recent lows on Ethereum and Litecoin. Very few weekly supports. After 47.19, I'm looking down at the next level of 33.56. Actually 45 and then 33.56. A lack of support on Litecoin. The next Ethereum support, if we were to break, that's actually the wrong chart. ETH USD, if we were going to break to a lower low on the weekly time frame, the next support that we're looking down at is 130. So after 167 is 130. So again, we can't lose sight. The weekly charts had bullish reversal candlesticks last week. We are not doing anything to confirm them this week, but there's a lot of time left. And the only hope for the bulls on both Litecoin and Ethereum is a daily higher low and then a bull break, breaking the top of the bounce. Odds do not favor that right now. So that's their only hope. Equilibrium still likely to form on these daily time frames, but not looking good. Litecoin, what was the bear signal here? We had consolidation, 4 hours, lower highs and lower lows, and the bear volume really picked up when everybody else's bear volume picked up as well. And the break of 54.43 led to significant downside here as well. So a weak bounce attempt on the hourly, anything below 53.97, just a lower high. Exponential resistance, same thing. We watch the 15-minute exponential resistance. If we get over it, we zoom out to the hourly. We watch the exponential resistance and the lower highs there. And that's how we gauge, along with volume, as to whether or not this bounce has any follow through. And right now we're just not seeing any bull volume, so we know not to really trust the bulls on this bounce until that volume does show up. BCH, much more clear bear break. Daily support is already gone. 410's out of the picture. We drop down to 407.65. Not a huge follow-through break, but again, there's no support here. This is BCH on Coinbase, so I have to go to a different exchange because we do not have history here. So Bitfinex, after 410, the next support level, aside from 4 psychological, is 280. So it's all psychological levels. You just might go down $10 at a time. Might as well. 400, 390, 380, 370, so on and so forth. But a lack of support on the weekly time frame is the bottom line. 4-hour chart, getting oversold. Last hourly lower high, anything under 427.60 is a lower high. Same story with the exponential resistances. Bears very comfortable. ETC. Support is down at 984. I had to get off Coinbase Exchange here as well due to no history at these levels. And we go to the weekly time frame and say, where do we stand if we get a clear bear break of 1013? And the answer is 830 as the next clear level. Actually, one more. We got 950 and then 830. So again, lack of support when we go back to the history because of how hard we ran in 2017. A lot of these coins are in areas where they did not establish support on the way up, and there's big gaps, big space, I should say, not a gap, space before those next support levels are hit. So what we're doing with altcoins now is comparing how are we correlating to this Bitcoin dump. Are we seeing similar pullbacks? Have we lost the weekly higher low attempt? Have we dropped down to lower lows at this point? BCH already has, so it's clearly weaker than names like ETH and LTC, which are still holding that weekly low from just last week. Dash, I should say, is still holding up well as well. Clearly seeing some correlation, but not nearly as weak as these other names. We are still in the daily equilibrium pattern. Our lower high, most recently, was at, still counting it as 201.62, and we're going to see can the bulls hold 171 and stay in this equilibrium pattern. So there are definitely names out there that are holding up much better. And we look at Dash, weekly consolidation still occurring, have to change the lower high pattern by getting over 224, the top of this bounce, but we're not dropping down to lower lows just yet. So again, if you're trading altcoins, always be using your benchmark of Bitcoin and comparing who is stronger, who is weaker, to know which direction that you want to be favored. So that's where we stand overall. Again, brief hope, glimmers of hope for the bulls that get crushed down. We did not get to the midway point for Bitcoin on the range that we were watching. You could still make the argument that this daily chart is a bear flag. The bounce is a little bit too extended for me to call that a bear flag. I would assume that a equilibrium is a more likely scenario, but with the follow through the bears are seeing on just today's candlestick, I'm not going to argue too hard that this is not a bear flag because we could just drop right down and break that 61.16 level sometime in the next day or two. So bears are getting ready. They are smelling a bit of blood. Bulls' backs are against the wall. We still have the battle ongoing, but it's looking more and more grim with every little detail that we calculate and factor in for this current setup. So I appreciate you all watching. I hope you continue to do good things out there. It's nice being back in the US and being able to tip places again. Couldn't really do so in Iceland. Everything's already factored in, but they certainly make their money's worth with the cost of things out there. So I'm going to start doing some Iceland content now, and the first video I got just edited pretty much our first day landing, and it's going to be the Blue Lagoon here, which is a spa fancy type place. Normally I certainly enjoy the more natural hot springs like Conundrum Hot Springs in Colorado, which takes an 8-mile hike to get to it, but when you do an overnight flight and you land at 6 in the morning and you look for a little bit of pampering, and that was actually really enjoyable. It was a really cool spot. They have a swim-up bar and a swim-up place where you put, silica and algae on your face. And there was a fancy restaurant we went into, and you can wear your robe in the fancy restaurant while all the other people are wearing fancy clothes. I like that aspect. And we got weather there. We were first arrived, and the weather report was pretty rough. It said, rain pretty much the whole week we were going to be there. So I was a little bit concerned. And the first day was a stiff wind. I left the audio just wind so you can hear it whipping. And we ended up getting beautiful weather after that. The only rain would be very brief, and there were some days we got over 6 rainbows in one day, just because the cloud and shower would be very quick and the sun would be right back out again. So that was great, but obviously the weather, not the first day. Then we went to an Airbnb and stayed on the coast right by the water. I'm astounded that these houses can withstand this constant rain and driving wind. I mean, it's got, metal siding and all that, but very impressive. There was a hot tub. I enjoy the bathing experience. And the good thing about this is you're not sitting in the same water as the last dozen or two people before you. And then you get that murky, chlorinated water that makes you feel like you're sitting in some kind of cesspool. This is right out of the side of the house. You turn the spigot and it taps into the geothermal waters. So hot water comes right out fresh and clear. When you're done, you drain the tub and you just fill it up for an hour and a half when you're ready to get in. So that was a beautiful way to start the next day before we started our travels. And then we got into scenery and stuff from there. But just starting it off for today, that's the video we got. Continue to do good things out there. Still working on the merchandise and clothing, apparel aspect of things. And we'll see you soon. We'll check back in tomorrow. Protect those bullish positions. Bears, you can let it ride and watch those lower highs and watch those exponential moving average resistances. We'll see if the bulls are able to defend their supports. We're going to see a clear break on this daily time frame likely this week. We'll see whether it's a bear break of 61.16 or a bull break of 65.80. Obviously, we are about $130 from a bear break, and we are about $360 from a bull break. Thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, wait. Almost signed off. I got a free hoodie. Extra large. If an extra large hoodie would fit you, it's the same one that I have been wearing. Comment and I will pick somebody. Thanks.